Holy flop! Flopper, 63 million of cash, SCHMECKS, US SCHMECKS, stuffed in the bowl and flushed away by Marvel freaking Avengers. What's good, guys? How you doing? So I've been holding off on ever covering the Marvel Avengers stuff. Square Enix. Just because I didn't play it, and I definitely had the intention to. Me and El Ginger were going to live stream it. That boy loves everything Marvel related. He's obsessed with it. But even when he got turned off of playing it, you know, before the game even came out, just seeing the shenanigans, just seeing some of the issues, the gameplay was starting to, while looking very, very cool and fresh and funky, even I was pretty hyped to play it. There was just always certain cracks beginning to show. That was a real turn off. And then came the marketing bollocks, the tsunami of ongoing multiplayer rinsing business model that was clearly looking to take advantage of its players over a prolonged period of time. It turned Ginger off. And then I think especially Spider-Man being PlayStation exclusive, that was the nail in the coffin. So I knew from that point, when even he wasn't going to play it, this whole thing was headed towards a steep slope. And now you've probably seen it already. And the results are really in. $63 million lost by Square Enix on this project. That is 35 million of the Queen's pounds, the Great British Squids. Totally lost. I think someone was able to deduce how much this cost. Well, actually, someone said it implies the game cost over 100 million because David Gibson says Square Enix reported a 6.5 billion yen loss for HD games driven by Marvel Avengers. Would not say how many sold, but that volumes were 60% of plan. Implies over 100 mil to make, but only sold 3 million or so. Woof. And Yongye did a little bit of reporting on this. Pointed out the very obvious that Marvel's Spider-Man, a subsection, just a singular hero, not even the whole Avengers crew assembled. Even that was able to make more. And it was even on a singular platform. This was a multi-platform flop. How? This is one of those losses that seems near on impossible. But actually going to the most expensive games ever made, we get a clearer number. I always check this list out. To this day, at number 6, we still have Final Fantasy VII, which adjusted with inflation in 2020, that was about 127 million. So, of course, we're looking at the most expensive. These are pretty exceptional. But if we just scoot down to about number 20 or so, there's Final Fantasy IX, still on the most expensive games ever made list. And even that production cost was 58 million US dollars. We have lost more. I say we, Square Enix have lost more. I say we just because this is how my mind operates. I'm like, damn. Not even what you just spent on Marvel Avengers, what you lost cost more than 9, 8, 10, 12. Probably not 13 or 15. We don't really have concrete numbers for those. We knew with FF15 it took 5 million copies to wipe face. It definitely would have cost more. But regardless, such a chunk of change that could have been spent on so many other projects when, yeah, literally, these are the games that cost less than what Square Enix just lost. Less. World of Warcraft, Half-Life 2, Gears of War 3, Darksiders 2, LA Noire, DC Universe Online, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. That's such a weird title. E.T. the Extraterrestrial, was that expensive? Heavy Rain, Gears of War Judgment, and even Rift, though Rift is 68 to 80 million. Holy shitballs, Square Enix. And I'm going to get on to the gripe I've always had with Square Enix being on this project. It's never made any freaking sense to me, especially if this was always the plan. The game to be this sort of multiplayer, continuous product. Before I cover that, just looking at number 11 on the list, yep, Marvel Avengers is now there. 11th most expensive game ever made, and they've got it down as 170 million. And yeah, with the platforms being PC, PS4, Stadia, Xbox One, PS5, Xbox Series X, how did this fail? Square Enix, you just suck massive balls at multiplayers. This is not your forte. This is not your lane. This is, I mean, I don't want to say stay in your lane, Square Enix, because I don't know, in my opinion, I love it when Square Enix go out the box. I think they're a company that thrive when they do it. But with certain things, I mean, yes, before I go into shitting them on their online reputation over the years, you know, of course, I've got to address FF14, Elephant in the Room. Yes, that failed when it first released. Total flop. Of course, it had the huge comeback, like one of the biggest comeback stories in gaming history. So I feel like 14 is a really big exception. 11 has succeeded. We even know like some mobile multiplayer games that have done really well. Some of them I wish that didn't do well. FF15 and New Empire, dirty, disgraceful. But Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, specifically more pertinent to their latest books, because while they have lost this much money, really enough, it hasn't totally sunk them or stuck their nose too deep into the brown end. Because financial years of 2021, the recent reports that came out, Square Enix saw revenue up still 43% and profits up 46%. The company shifted 12.08 million copies of games, and compared to the previous year, where it was 8.65 million. So they have still done phenomenally well. And of course, that's 7 Remake. Massively 7 Remake. Massively. I did the video on how tidy that quarter was. That year, they had done £250 million worth of net sales. Pounds. I know most of you are American, so you're probably trying to convert that into dollars. 250 million British squids with an operating income of more than 10 billion yen, which is 73 million pounds. That was such a crazy profit. And it was off the back end of that year that I sort of looked at Square Enix shareholders and I did that breakdown of, wow, Square Enix are at a point they have never been in their history. Not even at the peaks of their golden eras. Like this was really a phenomenal time. And it was from that I deduced, I think Square Enix have got another opening for another project. It was crazy, and most of you were like, Pez, you'd be tripping. They've got FF14, which is also a massive thing that's keeping Square Enix in the green. Hugely. The quality of Shadowbringers and just where 14 is, like, it really is carrying the company. Yoshi P, our savior, is not a meme. At this point, it really is just a reality. But yeah, I was saying, like, despite that, despite even like Project Athia and all the other things we got on the horizon, Outriders, Replicants, Melody of Memories, all their mobile stuff, like they seemed busy and that they wouldn't take any more work on. But I was saying, guys, this is the new era of Square Enix. Like their profits have never been this high. They could be shadow developing a game, and I pointed 16, and to see it now happening, yeah. But anyway, that was for that first quarter. We then go to the second quarter, during which Marvel Avengers came out. And they still saw net sales of £174 million, but an operating loss of more than £36 million or $64 million US, as you'll commonly see reported. Ouch. Oh, that's not pretty. And when I was just reading this, I couldn't help but get the same feelings I got for Dissidia NT. This is Dissidia NT all over again. Yeah, there's FF11, there's FF14, there's some successful multiplayer mobile titles, but generally, Square Enix, your reputation for bringing out multiplayer games on day one in a fixed, workable, reputable, compelling kind of state that keeps people coming back, that gets the online community thriving and off to a good start, which is realistically what you need. I am so sick of seeing these games that have so much potential where their combat looks good and thrilling and like there's something really workable at the core of it, but you fuck it with just the dumbest of things. I mean, for Dissidia NT, like it really was like not making the games like best of 3, a shit ranking system, not giving you a bloody MP3 player, so you're having to listen to the same blaring tune as you sit in the lobby for ages waiting for a matchmake that never comes, and then when it does come, you just thrust into the same repetitive game and it's done really, really freaking quick. And all of this applies to Marvel Avengers. I'm hearing about repetitive gameplay, really long wait queues. It's like a ghost town. I think we're seeing on Steam, like the numbers of like community of like collapsed 90%. 90%. I don't know how it's doing on the PS4, but yeah, according to Steam chart numbers, Marvel Avengers PC audience has slumped an average or a consistent average of 1,000 to 2,000 people per month since launch, to To a point it got so low that it was triggering matchmaking issues. And at the time of the article's publication, this was being 5 days ago, just 798 people were playing Marvel Avengers on Steam. Oh my god, it's Dissidia NT all over again. It's even FF14 comrades. Even that, the second you got into that, matchmaking issues, or like again with other teams and not just freaking bots. And then yeah, eventually people just fall out of interest, and then what happens? Suddenly, months later, you're hearing from some of like the 5 or 10% of people who continued playing say, oh guys, seriously, it's good again. Like they actually fixed it. Oh, there is an MP3 player in Dissidia NT. Comrades, eventually they did bring in like some really cool story elements that were really pertinent to the plot. Taking out even just the comrades, even just the entirety of FF15. Like, yeah, by the time we had episode Ignis and Gladiolus and Odin and the book, there's a really good story there. I'm so happy with it. It is so juicy and intriguing, and actually it all came round in a really nice way. But I'm like one of the 49 people who made it to that point and actually know. And it's so frustrating to try to tell people, I know it's decent now, come back, because it's just not going to happen. And this is what Square Enix need to learn. And when I say Square Enix, you guys might be able to help me. I mean, in fact, please help me in the comment section below with this entirety of this topic, because I've not played it. So I'm very much aware I could be one of those people who are just reporting shit news on a game that has just kind of built up like a naysayer hype train, shit posting train. Like it's become a bit controversial, and it might actually be a decent game. So if anyone who has played Marvels, what is the game like? Is it freaking decent? Is most of this hyperbolic, short attention span motherfuckered gamers like waning unfairly on a game? Or is all the criticism pretty fair? But I mean, man, because that at the end of the day is the reality of gaming now. Square Enix is brutal. People's attention spans are brutal. When it comes to multiplayer games, it doesn't matter if you patch it. Like we got Crystal Dynamics in early October saying that they're rushing to get new updates for the game, that they're coming, and that they're coming as fast as we safely can in a bid to reignite waning player interest. I'm sorry, man, but the gaming community ain't that kind. You have day one to get these games in working condition. If the game ain't sexy at launch, then you ain't going to keep people around. And that's the thing. I've never also known, Square Enix are the publisher for this game, so they've been in charge of marketing and publishing and advertising and production and all of that stuff, and Crystal Dynamics, the developers. So I've never really known how much of the creative flop decisions on this game were from Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics. I'm sure it's been like a constant weave between the two, because from the 3 or 4 hours of Marvel videos I have watched, and reviews and breakdowns that I've seen, and combat and gameplay and things with the story, like I definitely get so much Square Enix influence from it. And when I see what people say they love about it, like what is good, those predominantly being things like the story, some of like the humor in it is quite good, some of the characters people are drawn towards, and that, yeah, if they'd have just made this that single player RPG, story driven, character development, cinematically stuffed and sweet title that everyone, when they first heard Square Enix were working on this, were hyped for, well then this could have been something. This could have been something. And even in the multiplayer format, it could have been something if you'd have just waited a few months, and whatever patches you're now trying to rush in to fix the game, if you'd have had them at day one, then the game would have had a chance of making not just a profit, but a continuously lucrative product. And when I say lucrative, I don't mean you have to be robbing players fucking blind every 2 seconds, FF15 and New Empire style. We got 14 and 11 was a success. War of the Visions, Brave Exvius, like there are examples of it working well, but there's two kinds of Square Enix multiplayer game. There always has been, and what makes each of them flop are very, very distinct in how they sniff and taste, and it just looks like Avengers has slipped into the shit. Accidentally taken a wrong turn into the stink. My mind boggles that they still are 46% up in profit, even with that fat chunk of change lost. Like if they hadn't have lost that would have been really saucy and would have been an even better jumping off point for future titles going into 2022, 2023 and beyond. And they're saying that COVID is going to be delaying it. In the same financial report, they stressed again that COVID has caused impacts on titles in development, more specifically the ones that were beginning their development cycle. They kind of emphasized, and whether this is a bit of bullshit or not, who knows, that the ones that have been already in development aren't so affected. So I'm hoping what they mean by that is FF16. That's been 4 years in development at this point. 3 kind of conceptual, middle ground development, and a year fully fledged. 7 Remake Part 2, I could definitely see making it in a decent time frame and not being too affected by COVID. But the parts beyond that, who knows? Project Athia, that's definitely going to be one of the ones that's kind of up in the air. But there we go, guys. Just wanted to cover it and express some of the deep-rooted frustration, because especially with Dissidia NT. Like, I was really close with that project before it came out. At the same time, a lot of real life shit happened around that time that kind of disinterested me in gaming as a whole. So it wasn't specifically because of Dissidia NT, but there was a huge amount with Dissidia NT that just really deflated me for such aggravating reasons. And to see all of those now pass over to the biggest Western IP of all time, freaking Marvel. Like, there's so many non-weebs, weeaboos, who were looking to be like, okay, Square Enix, show me what you got. Make an impression. This is a crazy, huge East and West collaboration, and just to see it fall as flat as this, and to see Square Enix's reputation getting such a smashing. I mean, have you heard Jim Sterling talk about this shit recently? He is weighing in on Square. Weighing in, and most of it is probably deserved because, frankly, I don't think they can run a multiplayer model for shit. But then at the same time with 14, they can, because that's carrying so hard. Oh, so conflicted. Anyway, I'm done. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. All of those who have played Marvel, what kind of state is it realistically in? And if you are one of those people who has lost interest, I want to pose the question. Even if they were to fix most of the things that you have a problem with this game, really iron out all the kinks, realistically, what the chances are that you're going to go back to it? Because I'm just wondering, could Marvel Avengers do the kind of redemption arc that FF14 did? But I know 14 required a real overhaul from the ground up, and I just don't think that's going to happen with Marvel Avengers. I think it's more than likely this is the flat line, because once that matchmaking queue turns into a graveyard, it's dunzos, buddy. Dunzos! Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. Comment, like, and subscribe so that your man Peasant doesn't see similar losses in his fiscal reports. Please keep me on that year-on-year profit gravy train. I need it. And just hitting that bell button, that's more than enough to do it. Thank you. Goodbye.